Good afternoon. Thank you for this short movie, very emotional. I would like to start with saying thank you all for supporting the Christians in Iraq. Big thanks to ACN for the support in the past 4 years. I should say that without the support of different NGOs, among them Aid to the Church in Need, the survival of the Christians in Iraq would have been in doubt. So let me explain why. Iraq has been suffering from sectarian and ethnic division since the aftermath of 2003 war, and the security in the country kept declining year after year. 2003, as you probably remember, it was the time when Iraq was invaded and the change of Saddam Hussein regime. Many countries around the world speak about that invasion as liberation, but for us, people of Iraq, we reflect on it as invasion because it just completely changed the life of all Iraqis except Christians. Since 2003, Christians of Iraq has been going through persecution one after another. From 2003 to 2014, we lost many Christians. Many were kidnapped and released for ransom. Others were never released. And we lost a bishop and a number of priests from different rites. So, in 2014, with the declining of the security in the country, it was just perfect environment for ISIS to enter Iraq. When ISIS entered in June of 2014, Christians in Mosul, in Nineveh plain, in June, especially in Mosul, Christians were given 3 choices. They were told either to convert to Islam, or that they had to pay jizya, or that they would be killed. So a lot of Christians, all Christians had to leave Mosul. While they were leaving, they were deprived of everything they had. Some families, they were deprived even from their medication. And later on, people in Christian towns around Mosul, in Nineveh plain, also were threatened, and in August, 6th of August in 2014, ISIS started entering different Christian towns. At that time, I was in Karakosh. Karakosh is one of the main Christian towns in Iraq. Just before midnight, as a congregation, we received a phone call telling us that we had to leave the town. As we were leaving, we realized that we were among the last people to leave the town. So we were able to start leaving. I was with other 9 sisters in one car. As we started driving, we saw people, some on walking, others on bicycles, and some people really did not know where to go or what to do. We did not know either. So the only option we had was to go to Kurdistan, north of Iraq. So we started just before midnight driving. It's 15 miles, but we did not arrive to Kurdistan until the next day at 9:30 in the morning. There were so many cars. Christians from all over Christian towns in Nineveh plain had to leave that night. So everybody was heading to the same direction. As we entered Ankawa, one of the towns in Erbil, which is a small town, used to be 20 to 25,000 people. That night that town received 120,000 people from all over Nineveh plain. This all happened because a certain group called ISIS, Islamic State, in Iraq and Syria, wanted to put Sharia law in practice in Nineveh. All of a sudden, we felt like we were deprived of all our rights. The Article 18 of International Covenant on Civil and Religion rights reads that everyone shall have the right to freedom of thought, consciousness, and religion. This right shall include freedom to have or adopt a religion or belief of his choice, and freedom either individual or in community with others, and in public or private, to manifest his religion or belief in worship, observance, practice, and teaching. It is a shame that in this age, where the world's slogan is freedom, democracy, and modernity, there are people who are persecuted because of their faith. We were disappointed, and we felt that we have been betrayed by the neighboring towns. When we entered Kurdistan, we of course did not know what had happened in our towns. We received photos from media that showed that ISIS were destroying every church, destroying every altar, and every cross in these Christian towns. People did not have anywhere to go. People had nothing to lean on, really, except their faith. So the only place they could head was to the churches. So the first days of displacement, Christians were in churches, in parks, streets. They had nowhere to go. They set tents in different places in parks, just so that they can be in shelter because of the heat of August in Iraq. Shortly after that, with the help of different humanitarian organizations, we were able to set different camps in Kurdistan. The camps were made of prefabricated material. It's like shipping containers where people started living in. In the midst of all that, people started questioning, why us? Why did that happen? As Christians of Middle East, we come from different backgrounds of traditional rites. We are Syriac rite, Catholic and Orthodox. We are Chaldeans. Some of us belong to the Eastern Church. We come from different rites. We all speak Aramaic as a first language for us. And we question that, why this happened to us. Many of us, all of us Christians in Iraq, we did not work hard before for our faith. We just received it. We were given the sacraments of first baptism, first communion, so we never questioned our faith. But during the crisis of ISIS, we all questioned, why us? Why us? And we had to reflect on the Bible in a different way, in a new way. We realized that what happened to us, it was a cross that we were either had to carry it and do something about it and change our life, or just drag it. So many of us chose to reflect on what was happening and really take that cross as a way of starting a new life. In the midst of questioning why us, and people did not abandon their faith. In one of the camps, shortly after displacement, a family wanted their child to be baptized. Later on, we had to organize First Communion catechism programs. As we sisters, there were 74 of us who were displaced in one night. Among all these people who were displaced, we had to react to the need of our people with the church. So we started helping people, providing the basic needs. We started with providing milk and diapers to children. Later on, because we got support from ACN, different NGOs, we were able to provide for people some mattresses, some clothes, pillows, basic needs that people can manage to live on. Because we were displaced in Kurdistan, we had hard time finding, Christians had hard time finding jobs to support them, because in Kurdistan they speak Kurdish, a different language. So it was not easy to find job in these new cities. Also, to help the displaced live their everyday life, we started catechism programs. We managed to open different training programs, especially for women, because in these camps where they were living, there were thousands of people in each camp. People almost had nothing to do, especially those who were not able to find job. Later on, we thought that our displacement was going to be a week or two or a month or two, but it ended up being 3 years. So we had to respond to the need of people, which was education. The displaced Christians could not attend schools in Kurdistan because of the different language. So with the help of ACN, we were able to open a school, and with Kinewa, another NGO, was able to support us with salaries. So a school from prefabricated material was built, and the first year we received over 400 students. The second year we received 600 students, and the past year Al-Bishara School in Erbil was among the best schools in the region. So we wanted to save the generation, really, by providing education. At the same time, because families were living in these small containers or rooms, we needed to get the children out of these places, at least for half of the day. So we opened different kindergartens. We rented homes, and we turned these homes to kindergartens where children can spend half of the day in these places. In 2017, last year, around this time in October, the liberation started for Nineveh Plain. And shortly after that, we, among other people, wanted to go back and see what had happened to these towns where we used to live, what had happened to our convents, institutions, different places. So we went 23rd of October of last year to first town we visited was Karakosh. And we were just shocked with the destruction that we saw in these towns. Convents destroyed, schools destroyed, churches destroyed. We realized that ISIS had managed to do three things very well. They had managed to destroy convents and churches. They had managed to destroy homes. And they had managed to separate families. By last year, so many people had left the country. So families have been not only displaced in Kurdistan, but also some of the families have immigrated outside of the country. As we walked in these towns, we just remembered the words of God to Prophet Ezekiel in chapter 37, the Valley of the Dry Bones. We could hear the word of God saying to us, as he was saying, that he had said to Ezekiel, "Son of man, with these bones live." We, like Ezekiel, we just said, "You, Lord, know," because we just could not believe that these towns will be restored again. We walked around and we believed that in order for these towns to re-establish again, to be rebuilt again, we need a miracle. And a miracle needed a lot of faith. And a miracle happened. ACN was a strong supporter for the Christians who returned to Nineveh Plain. And a lot of homes have been rebuilt with the support of ACN. In our town, in the convent, one of our convents, the convent was burnt, half of it burnt, the other half destroyed. And actually the previous photo showed the convent being destroyed. But we were able to dig out this little palm tree. That palm tree last year was totally burned, but we took it out. This year it's blooming again. It just shows how persistent the Christians are in Iraq. And then as we walked during the year, we were back and forth to these Christian towns. We could just hear the music of hammers, music of restoration. It was the best music we could hear. At that time, as a congregation, we did not wait for our convent to be rebuilt in order to return. We had found a place, a family home that we turned to a convent. We had 10 sisters ministering in Karakosh, and at the same time, we started rebuilding our convent. At the same time, again, we had to respond to the need of people, and was education. We started a school, elementary school for ages 6 to 12. And that school, of course, provided education for students and also job opportunities. People were encouraged to go back to these towns when they saw us going back. That's what they told us, that they were encouraged to go back because the sisters were back. It means it is safe to go back because the sisters are there. So we did not want to encourage anyone to go, really. So people themselves went back. But we thought, at least for those who have returned, we need to do something. So education was the best thing we could do for people. So we opened elementary school, we opened kindergartens that help people to find jobs and at the same time provide education for children. This photo is a family that was among the first families to return to Karakosh, and their home was supported by ACN. So they were able to go back because their home was rebuilt. Sisters also, as they went back, they have been involved very much in education and catechism program, theological programs, religious program, different programs. And one of the things that ACN did when rebuilding or helping rebuild homes of people, they were given a small olive tree. So every family had an olive tree when their home was restored, and people planted it in their homes. Today, the total destruction of homes is 13,555. That includes partially damaged homes, totally damaged, burned homes, and then the total church properties that are destroyed is 363. The reconstruction since last year today, it's about 45% of the total. And there is about 40% of people have returned to different Nineveh Plain towns. ACN had helped us in different ways. In my congregation, they had helped us build different convents, a convent in Tel Esqaf, a convent in Karakosh, a convent in Bahshiqa, and also an orphanage in Karakosh. This is a photo of the orphanage. It was totally burnt, and just 10 days ago, it was restored, and the sisters and the girls are back to their orphanage. Also, we have been in every town we are returning, every Christian town we are returning, we are establishing a kindergarten again, as it was before ISIS. People in these Christian towns are trying to live their normal life with all the challenges that are facing. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. There are still a lot of homes that are destroyed. There's a lot of damage, a lot of schools that are still in ruins. But people are trying to live their normal life. As we walked in one of the towns a few weeks ago, children in Tel Esqaf, they were having a very serious conversation about their bicycles. So I would like to end with the story of the altar in one of our convents. When we entered, in the beginning of the video that we were showed early today, there was a sister who was talking about, Sister Huda talking about when we were leaving, just before we left, we went to our chapel to pray, and then we thought we would take the first communion. We would not leave it in the tabernacle. But we left one piece, and we thought we will leave it to protect the town. When we went back, of course, the tabernacle was destroyed, the crosses were destroyed, the altar itself was destroyed. We managed to collect pieces of that communion that was left. And when we started reconstructing the convent, we collected these pieces of this altar. And we did that because we wanted to use them again when restoring the new convent. So we managed to put them together. And as you can see, this altar there's some pieces missing. There are some cracks, but it represents the people of Iraq. It represents every one of us in Iraq, every Christian in Iraq. What had happened to us was not easy. We will not forget it. The scars will always show in our soul, but we had, in these 3-4 years, we rediscovered our faith. We are stronger people today because of what had happened to us. Today, the convent is all complete, finished, and the sisters are back to the convent, and here it is today with the cross again, and with the beautiful altar and tabernacle again. Thank you very much. Please keep us in your prayers. We pray for all of you. Please remember that if you don't hear on the news about the Christians in Iraq, it does not mean things are all well. It just means that media is busy with something else. So pray for us and know that we always pray for you. Thank you.